Welcome to Idea Talks. In this podcast, we are meeting with business leaders, academics, and professionals who are shaping Malta's business and academic landscape. My guest today is Dr. Alfred Quintano. Dr. Quintano is a lecturer and management consultant specializing in aviation, tourism, and hospitality. He held senior roles at Air Malta, served on major boards, and lectures on aviation and hospitality management.
Malta's future starts with a conversation. Idea Talks.
Dr. Quintano, what inspired you to enter aviation?
What a good question. First of all, I'm always lost for words, but once I start, there's no stopping me. So please do stop me when I.
This is your passion. Clearly,
that's my passion.
From a resume.
Exactly.
I have no doubt
it's
about
my
that.
passion, and I think that the passion started possibly the day I was born, because basically I have this theory in my mind, which is not proven at all. Maybe it should be researched. That I come from Paula, and proudly so, from the town of Paula. Now, and in my childhood, of course, Paula was exactly in the flight path of the then active runway, which we call 0523 runways have numbers, they have names. And at the time, of course, there was a huge military presence in Malta, Royal Air Force presence, with these huge bombers, the Vulcans, the Canberras, the Lightnings, and they used to make a terrible noise, and they literally used to skim over our heads. And I think we grew up in such an environment that basically so close to the airport that you either loved aircraft or hated them, basically. Now I find that even in my circle of aviation enthusiasts, of aviation enthusiasts my age, most of them do come from Paula. So I thought possibly there's some logic to this reasoning. However, of course, it grew with me, and it grew with me as a child, and then even as a teenager at university. My first degree was in BA Honours in Economics at the University of Malta, and when I came to choosing a topic for our dissertation, long essay basically, we used to call it thesis, but of course it was a short dissertation. I chose the topic on the possibility of Malta having its own national airline, and Malta having its own airline.
So that was roughly the year?
73.
Okay.
73. And of course, some people thought I was crazy, absolutely crazy then. But at least I had the backing of my full professor at the time, the late Professor Salvino Busuttil, and he backed the idea. So I wrote my dissertation on the possibility of Malta having its own airline. Little did I realize that
it was pre-Air Malta.
That the year after, 2 years after, Malta would have its own national airline. However, at the time, of course, conditions were not the same as now. So basically, we were a course of 26 students, a cohort of 26, which at the time was huge. But all of us had to leave Malta to find other jobs, and I ended up in Scandinavia, working for a global airline at the time, an airline of repute, a great airline, Scandinavian Airlines, SAS, and until then Air Malta started, and I was quite settled over there, but I was headhunted to join the pioneering team of Air Malta, shall we say.
When you recall those times, what was the toughest challenge or the toughest challenges at Air Malta that you encountered?
Yes, they were exciting times, starting something new, something which many people thought would be impossible. So it was, and also there was a mix of young, shall we say, young talent, young ex-colleagues of mine at university, basically, in management positions, and also some veterans, including some exceptionally experienced personnel from Pakistan International Airlines, which has made me remember. But I think that the number one challenge at the time was establishing ourselves, in the sense that at the time, of course, Malta was still finding its feet. Malta was still in its infancy stage of its of its product, of its life cycle in tourism. Therefore, basically it was trying to convince foreign markets, especially foreign tour operators who send the tourists to destinations, that listen, Malta's interesting, and then following that, listen, you can trust Air Malta. Because at the time, there was a bit of a reluctance by these source markets such as the United Kingdom and Germany and France and so on to trust what we call destination-based airlines. Their own airlines based in England and Germany were fine, but will they trust a Spanish airline or a Greek airline? But then this was the challenge, and we managed, and how we managed, because we built up a reputation which was second to none, I think.
And it is indispensable to have your national airline for your tourism industry, right?
Well, yeah, no, we're touching the concept. The thing is, of course, I do not quite like using nowadays the term national airline, because there is no such thing as a national airline anymore since we joined the European Union. Any airline registered within the European Union is a European Union airline. It's a European airline. So there's no such thing. Okay, you can be based in one country and not another, at one airport and not, or in several airports for that matter. But the term national airline as such is anathema to European Union thinking.
Fast forward to today. At the time of this interview that you're recording, this interview, we are living unprecedented, turbulent geopolitical situation, upheaval. Call it what you want. It's basically the impact of the war, of the US-Israel war on Iran, and how Iran now has acted by attacking a number of Gulf states. What has been the impact so far on the global aviation industry and on the tourism industry?
Absolutely. The impact has been, first of all, the fact that already we had restricted airspaces where airplanes can fly. Of course, these are what are known as conflict zone information bulletins. They're issued by European regulators and so on, which inform airlines that, listen, don't fly over such a territory because it's dangerous to fly there. Unfortunately, we live this every day because our neighbors in Libya is considered a CZID, a conflict zone area. Of course, with the already 4 years now, we've had a situation where Russia is considered a conflict zone for European Union airlines. And therefore, the shortest path to Europe to Asia, such as Japan, China, India, etc., over Russia, is closed for European airlines. Then the alternative was flying over South Middle East, such as overflying Syria, closed airspace, then overflying Yemen, closed airspace, and now, of course, from the first minute of the start of this war, Iran airspace is closed. Therefore, it's become really difficult to overfly anywhere. I have a friend of mine, a very good friend of mine, ex-student of here, actually a graduate of an MSc graduate, because one of the things I'm really proud of is having launched and coordinated a unique master's in MSc in air transport management here at IDEA Management, which is unique. And one of the graduates there is a senior captain with Emirates, and he's an Airbus A380, this huge airplane captain there. And we meet for coffee occasionally because he comes back to Malta for his breaks. And he told me that last time we met, he told me before every flight we used to ask which countries can't we fly over. Now he said, our question is, which country can we fly over? Because the airspace is so limited. That is impact number one. Impact number two, of course, is the price of oil. Only 10 days ago, I was talking to some of my students and telling them, discussing fuel, and the price of a barrel of fuel at the time was $80 per barrel, and now it's shot up to 110, 115. So that's number two. The situation could even get worse if there's a supply shortage then.
Exactly.
The third impact is that one of the stalwarts, unbelievable hub of Dubai, of course, is now closed.
Under attack.
Is under attack.
There was a time when we used to work hard to get tourists to Malta, and we were after numbers. Nowadays, many are saying that we have too many tourists and we have over-tourism. What are your views on this? And if we have over-tourism, how can we avoid such a situation? How can we ensure that what we have here, rather than the numbers, is the quality tourist?
Yes, it is. It is not an easy issue. The thing is, we're always after numbers initially, especially politicians. And the thing is, however, we can spread our tourist arrivals even further. We have been very good at this in Malta to spread the seasonality aspect of tourism, that our peaks are no longer July, August and September, but we've managed to spread it. Now here it's important to assert the role of locally based airlines and the role of that market segment which we call MICE, which is basically meetings, incentives, conference and events.
It's a very lucrative sector. It's
also very lucrative, especially, of course, for five-star hotels. And let's not forget that in this tiny little island, we have 16 or five-star hotels. And the revenue backbone, especially during the winter months, is actually the conference and meetings business there. For that, you need a good balance, which might lead to another question, balance of transport availability. Yeah. Because putting all your eggs in one basket and relying entirely or almost entirely on low-cost carriers is not conducive to incentivizing the MICE market.
What's one leadership lesson that you learned the hard way?
Making a mistake. I made a mistake.
Explain.
I was made a mistake. I had an important role, especially at Air Malta, highly responsible position. Basically, I started and headed the charter division of Air Malta, which at one time accounted for over 50% of the flying hours of the company and the revenue. And basically it was it was a negotiating process with buyers, with tour operators, and business tells you that sometimes you think client is bluffing, and the customer that I thought was bluffing was not bluffing. So I made a mistake, but I had comfort in my chairman, who was my mentor. Because, of course, first and foremost, I admitted my mistake and expected him to fire me or to get angry at me. Instead, he told me, "Well done." I told him, "Are we being cynical, sir?" He told me, "No." He told me, "I'm proud of you." I said, he told me, "Because you took a decision, and that's what I expect from my managers."
When you travel, is it the window or the aisle that you?
No, strictly the aisle seat.
And why is that?
The aisle seat, because I get less disturbance. Because when I travel, the first thing I do is I put on my headphones and try to relax and listen to the kind of music which I love, which I normally don't find the time to do that. You know, nowadays we're coming to the stage where most aircraft have they're proudly announcing that they now have Wi-Fi and you can connect your mobile phone. This is the last thing. The only sea of tranquility which we used to have was the aircraft, and now that's
taken
also
as
gone.
well. Yeah. Your favorite holiday destination?
Depends. I think that since traveling has become so hectic, really, in a way, and tiring, I think Gozo is my favorite holiday destination. Mm-hmm. Having traveled in my younger days, of course, long haul and visited so many countries, distant countries as well. So.
One last question, Dr. Quintano. When you look back, and I guess you have no intention to retire anytime soon. When you look back, what are you most proud of in your journey?
In my journey? I think that if I were to look at my CV, and one of the things that I'm proud of is the fact that I started working in the aviation career, my aviation, although I was already a graduate, I had a degree in economics, blah, 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 as an aircraft toilet cleaner and baggage loader.
Okay.
As I mentioned, when I emigrated to Scandinavia, I could have gone for other jobs with my economics degree in finance, banking, or whatever, but I wanted to work for an airline. And
that was the only opening.
And they told me, if you want to work with us, the only opening is on the ramp, cleaning aircraft toilets and loading luggage. I look back to that with satisfaction because I realized, and I try to convince my students that, listen, I was going to say the expression, I started at the bottom. No, I don't consider that the bottom. Because nowadays, my consideration is that every job is important. There's no such thing as an unimportant job, because it's a value chain at the end of the day. One thing leads to the other. And then, of course, having at the other end of the scale, perhaps having matured and done a PhD at a relatively elderly age, shall we say, is also, I look back to that with satisfaction.
Dr. Quintano, thank you for your time, and I wish you well for your future.
Thank you very much.
That brings us an end of this interview with Dr. Alfred Quintano. I hope you enjoyed this interview. Till next time, thank you for your time.